Hello, you're welcome to my channel. If you're just seeing this channel for the first time, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Chisom. On this channel, I share sewing tutorial videos and other fashion related contents. In today's video, we'll be drafting a freehand method of princess dart with yoke. Now, this type of princess dart is the type that accommodates a busty person. It has enough room to accommodate the bust and make it to sit right in shape. So in this tutorial, we are not only going to be drafting the front pattern of the princess dart bustier, we are also going to be drafting the back pattern. So these are the back pieces. You can see that the back pieces are looking flatter than what the front pieces looked like. So if this is something you'll be interested in learning, sit back and let's dive straight into the tutorial. So guys, I'll be using this lining piece for the drafting of this princess dart in order for you to have a clearer view. Now I'm going to go ahead and mark out my lines, my armhole line, my bust point line, my under bust line, and then the entire length is the half length of my body. Now I'll go ahead and impute my shoulder measurement, divide by 2 plus half-inch sewing allowance on the shoulder line. My shoulder is 15, divide by 2, that is 7.5. Then I'll add half-inch to that, making it 8 inches. So that is what I marked on the shoulder line and also on the chest line. Now I'll connect it straight with the straight ruler. I am going to slant the shoulder by 1 inch, and then from the center front here I will come in by 3 inches and then make a mark there. Now I'll connect the shoulder slant to that 3 inches point I have there. Now on the chest line, I will impute my bust circumference, divide by 4, and on the half length, which is the waistline, I'll mark my waist circumference, divide by 4. Now I am going to connect the points together. I'll get the midpoint of this armhole, which is 3.5 inches, and there I'll go in by half of an inch and I'll curve out my armhole. On the waistline, I am going to mark my nipple to nipple distance, divide by 2 plus half-inch allowance. Now nipple to nipple is 8 inches, divide by 2 is 4. Then I'll add half-inch allowance and then I'll mark it on the waistline and also on the bust point line. So for the princess dart, I will connect from the bust point to the mid armhole with my curve ruler like you see me do now. So I'll just place my curve to touch the bust point and the mid armhole, and I simply connected that. To shaping my under bust and the waistline dart, I am going to come in on this side by 2 inches and I'll mark it on the under bust and on the waistline. Now on this side towards the center front, I'll mark half of an inch. I'm going to connect the points with a straight line. Now from the under bust to the bust point, I will use my curve to connect that in order to give it the bustier effect or the bust effect. Okay, so I'll connect with my curve like you see me do. Now for the armhole dart, I will come down from the mid armhole here. I'll come down by 2 inches, and on that 2 inches I'll connect it back to the bust point. And when I'm connecting it from the bust point to the 2 inches I have on the mid armhole, I will extend the line out, because on that line is where we'll be replacing these 2 inches. So I'll smoothen the bust side, I'll come up by 2 inches to replace the darts, and then I'll go ahead and blend it back into the armhole. After that is done, I am going to now replace the darts that I have on the waistline. I have 2.5 inches. I'll replace it on the side here and then add my sewing allowance. On the bust area here, I have 1/2 inch. I'll replace it on the side here. I will add my sewing allowance. Then I'll connect the chest line to the waistline. For the neckline, I used 3.5 inches for the width and 3.5 inches for the depth. Then I went ahead to curve out the neckline. Next thing is to get the yoke out of this bodice. Now I'll come in by 1/2 inch from the chest line. This is where I want the yoke to stop, okay? Then I'll connect from the mid armhole to meet that 1/2 inch I came in by on the chest line. You can take your yoke to any length you want it. If you want your yoke to go all the way down to the waist, you simply extend it down. So this is my yoke right here labeled. On the side here, I will go up by 2 inches. This is, if it was a pattern, I would have taken the side that's here, but this is a freehand cutting, so I'll take it at the end of the waistline and connect it back into this dart leg, like you can see me do right now. So I am reducing the side by 2 inches, so that by the time I join the front and the back at the sides, everything will match up. Okay guys, so this is all there is to the front part of the princess that you can see the curvy effect that this one has. So this will be able to accommodate a slim person with a fuller bust. Okay, now I'll go ahead and cut out the pattern, so we'll move over to drafting of the back part. Meanwhile, if you're not familiar with the drafting and cutting of a princess dart bustier, I suggest you watch carefully how I am going to cut out the pattern. Please guys, if you've been watching up to this moment and you're yet to subscribe to this channel, now what are you waiting for? Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up so YouTube can recommend it to more people. So this is all there is with the front pattern. Let's move over to the back part. For the back part, this line here is going to be the center back. Now on the center back waistline, I'll come in by 1 inch and connect it to the top part. This 1 inch is to enable the zipper to relax and not bulge. Now on the shoulder line, I'll mark my shoulder divide by 2 plus 1/2 inch allowance, and I'll also mark the same on the chest line. Then I'll connect it straight. On the chest line, I will impute my bust circumference divide by 4 plus sewing allowance, and on the waistline, I'll impute waist circumference divide by 4 plus sewing allowance, and then I'll connect the side. Next, I'll slant my shoulder by 1 inch, come in by 3 inches from the center and connect the shoulder slope down right there. I'll get the midpoint of the armhole, and then I'll go in by 1/2 inch and curve out my armhole. I'll take my neck measurements, the neck width of 3.5 inches and neck depth of 1 inch. Then I'll curve out my neckline. Next, I am going to mark the nipple to nipple distance divided by 2 plus half inch allowance. I will make sure the nipple that ends on 1 inch before the chest line. Then I'll connect that straight. I'm using 0.75 for my dart, and then I'll connect it to the dart point. Now I am going to connect the dart point to the mid armhole. Now for this back part, I am going to make sure it's not as puffy as the front part. Okay, so you can see me blending it up for that place not to be puffy. Now I extended the armhole by half of an inch and recurved the armhole so that at the end of the day I'll not have any shortage after joining it. So this is all for the back pattern. Now before I cut it out, I will add my zipper allowance on the center back. Okay, so guys, you not believe that I drafted this thing before on the main lining piece and I didn't know it was not recording, so I had to redo this with this piece of lining that was left. What we creators go through behind the scenes, most times our mouths cannot talk. So back to the tutorial, I am adding my 1 inch zipper allowance at the center back, and then I'll go ahead and cut the pattern out. So when cutting it out, make sure you add half inch for joining allowance on the shoulder line so that the armhole line will not reduce. Okay. These are the back pieces and these are the front pieces. Okay, so I'll proceed to use this lining pieces to cut them out on my main fabric. This is the center front part, the front yoke, and the bustier part of the front. So you can see that there is a difference between the front bustier part and the back part. Now we have come to the end of today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. If this tutorial was helpful to you, kindly give this video a thumbs up. If you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please hit that subscribe button now. If you have any question, you can put them in the comments and I will answer accordingly. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Till I see you again in my next tutorial. Bye.